And then there were four. The divisional round is now in the history books, and we have moved on to the conference championship. We have two fantastic games to preview here, and four great teams still alive. Everything's on the line here, and the winners of this game will get a trip to the Super Bowl. The losers, meanwhile, have to enter the offseason and answer quite a few questions. This is the Sports Ball Network, and this is our 2023 NFL Conference Championship rounds predictions. Let's get started. Things will kick off Sunday afternoon in Baltimore as the Kansas City Chiefs travel to M&T Stadium for their sixth straight AFC Championship game appearance. Waiting for them is the number one seeded Baltimore Ravens and the NFL MVP Lamar Jackson. The weather for this one looks to be 49 degrees and cloudy. So, all things considered, that's pretty good conditions for a football game. And I don't really anticipate the weather being any sort of inhibitor like it has been for the past couple weeks, particularly for Kansas City, who has had to play in the fourth coldest game in NFL history and then in a snowstorm in Buffalo. Looking at the season leaders for these teams, Patrick Mahomes led the Chiefs in passing, 4,183 yards, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. In rushing, it was Isaiah Pacheco who led the Chiefs, 935 yards on 205 carries and 7 touchdowns. Travis Kelce led the way in receiving, 93 receptions, 984 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Meanwhile, for Baltimore, Lamar Jackson leads the way, 3,678 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Lamar Jackson, unsurprisingly, also leads this team in rushing, 148 carries, 821 yards, and 5 touchdowns. The leading receiver for Baltimore, Zay Flowers, 77 receptions for the rookie, 858 yards, and 5 touchdowns. The injury report here is pretty impactful. Star cornerback L'Jarius Sneed is questionable for Kansas City. He is joined by Prince Tega Wanago, who is on IR and unlikely to play at the offensive tackle position. Isaiah Pacheco is questionable, expect him to play. Same for Joe Thuney, who is also questionable at guard, expect him to play. For Baltimore, Rock Ya-Sin at cornerback is questionable. Marlon Humphrey at cornerback also questionable. Mark Andrews was close to playing last week, and he is officially set to come back this week. So that is a huge boost to Baltimore and their passing offense. Kylan Wallace at wide receiver is questionable, and Delshon Phillips at linebacker questionable. Baltimore won 4 of their last 5 games, only loss coming to Pittsburgh in a meaningless Week 18 game when they had the number one seed wrapped up. Obviously, they took care of Houston last week. They are red hot. Kansas City, meanwhile, also has won 4 of their last 5, took care of Buffalo, Miami in the playoffs. They come into the AFC Championship red hot as well, and finally starting to put things together on offense, which could bode well for them in this game. Baltimore enters this one as a -3 favorite. They're the home team. And to be honest, I would not be surprised if this line moves a little bit towards Kansas City. Baltimore -3 is not that big of a spread. That's kind of the odds makers' way of saying that this one could go either way. And looking at the overall team breakdowns, you can see why. Kansas City, ninth overall offense, sixth in passing, 19th in rushing, combined with the second overall defense. Baltimore, meanwhile, sixth on offense, sixth on defense, 21st overall in passing offense, best rushing offense in the league. And these two teams have not met before, so this will be their first meeting, and it's going to be a good one. I mentioned last week in our divisional rounds prediction that Baltimore is not really built to win in a shootout situation. They need to have clock control. They need to have the run game going. And to be honest, I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do that with Patrick Mahomes on the other side. Kansas City has been really good as of late. They have the experience in these types of games. And at this point, I just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I will be taking Kansas City to win this one and for them to make their fourth Super Bowl in the past 6 years. That being said, would not be surprised if it's Baltimore who wins instead, but still, it's Patrick Mahomes on the other sideline. And at this point, I've learned my lesson. Not gonna bet against him. Following the crowning of the AFC Championship, we then move to the NFC as the Detroit Lions face off against the San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium with a chance to go to the Super Bowl on the line. Weather here looks to be 69 degrees and sunny. Absolutely beautiful weather for football. So nothing is going to inhibit these two teams from going all out. Detroit is led by Jared Goff at quarterback, who on the year threw for 4,575 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. David Montgomery leads the way on the ground, 219 carries, 1,015 yards, and 13 touchdowns for him. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been fabulous all year at wide receiver, 119 receptions, 1,515 yards, and 10 touchdowns for him. So Detroit's got quite a few stars in their lineup. So does San Francisco, who is led by Brock Purdy, quarterback, 4,280 yards on the season for him, to go along with 31 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Christian McCaffrey on the ground, 272 carries, 1,459 yards and 14 touchdowns, leading the way there. And in receiving, it is Brandon Aiyuk who leads the team, 75 receptions, 1,342 yards, and 7 touchdowns. The injury report here has quite a few names to watch. Alex Anzalone at linebacker for Detroit, Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds at wide receiver, Sam Laporta at tight end, all names to watch. I expect all of them to play, but if any of them miss this game, it could be pretty impactful. For San Francisco, the big name to watch is Deebo Samuel. He's questionable. And to be honest, I'm not sure he's going to play in this one, which could be a big hit to the dynamic 49ers offense. Detroit, over their last 5 games, won 4 of 5. Their only loss in that controversial game to Dallas, which cost the Lions the #1 seed. The Niners, meanwhile, have gone 3-2 over their last 5. Their 2 losses to the Rams in a meaningless Week 18 game and to Baltimore on Christmas. The 49ers entered this one as a pretty big favorite, -7 for them. And to be honest, I don't really understand why the Niners are coming in as such a heavy favorite here, all things considered. Especially when you think about the fact that Detroit very easily could have been the #1 seed in the NFC if they had gotten a couple calls going their way. But that's besides the point. Let's look at the statistical breakdown here. Detroit, third best offense in the league with the second best passing offense and fifth best rushing offense. They, however, have the 19th best defense in the NFL on the year. San Francisco, meanwhile, second best offense in the league, fourth in passing, third in rushing, and a top 10 defense coming in at eighth. These two teams have not played this year, but interestingly enough, the last time they played was Coach Dan Campbell's NFL debut, in which the Lions, who were considered relatively untalented at the time, managed to hang on for most of that game before falling to the San Francisco 49ers 41-33. Now, here's the question. Are Dan Campbell and the Lions able to reverse the results of that last meeting? Or will they end up falling just a bit short on their quest to make the Super Bowl and win it all? I actually think the Lions are going to do this. I think the Lions are really talented. They easily could have been the #1 seed in the NFC if a couple things went their way in terms of calls and in terms of officiating, San Francisco is not invincible. They showed a lot of things that could be exploited in last week's game against the Packers. They could be down Debo Samuel. And honestly, Detroit has all the momentum in the world. So give me the Lions to win this one. And to finally, after all of the years of pain and torment, make the Super Bowl. And there you have it. We're predicting the Kansas City Chiefs to win another AFC championship game in the Mahomes era and make it to their fourth Super Bowl in 6 years, beating the Baltimore Ravens. And for the Detroit Lions to finally make the Super Bowl as they take down the San Francisco 49ers in the upcoming games this Sunday. Thanks so much for watching the channel and our videos. If you liked what you saw, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the Sports Ball Network, and we'll catch you in the next one.